All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants, and this Wink Martindale versus Brian Daboll feud is getting juicy. We already knew that it was bad blood. We knew that the games that Brian Daboll and Wink Martindale were playing with each other, right? And let's start with there. But Paul Schwartz wrote an article detailing this, and I'm going to put the link in the description so you can read it. Credit to him for getting the story, but I want to go through some of the details of it. Before, we knew that Wink Martindale was essentially spending the last 8 weeks doing what he could to get Brian Daboll to fire him so he can collect his $3 million worth of salary and or go, coach for anywhere he wants, like the Philadelphia Eagles, who will probably be looking for a defensive coordinator. And Brian Daboll kind of took all the heat on this Wink Martindale situation. And then Monday morning after the season, 8:30 a.m. press conference, Brian Daboll says he expects Wink Martindale back, right? And then he fires Wink Martindale's right-hand man, Drew Wilkins, which we'll hear how that went down. And within an hour, Wink Martindale is telling the media he's going to resign. But he didn't resign. He didn't officially resign. So let's go through it and figure out exactly all what happened. So again, credit to Paul Schwartz for writing this story. Make sure to give it a full read. If Wink Martindale has resigned his position as the Giants defensive coordinator, he is advised to notify the Giants of this. As of Tuesday evening, the team had not heard anything from Martindale, who stormed out of the building Monday, and Tuesday morning was on a flight headed home to a home he has in Florida, right? And we see he's headed to Sarasota, Florida, out of the Newark airport here. Here is what went down, according, Paul Schwartz writes. According to people in the building who were aware of the situation, Daboll met with Martindale on Monday and told him there were staff changes coming. Daboll mentioned the dismissals of special teams coach Thomas McGahee and offensive line coach Bobby Johnson. There's no secret how close Daboll is with Johnson, and this one was a tough one for Daboll, but he felt it was necessary for the betterment of the team moving forward. Daboll told Martindale he wanted him to stay, but that he was going to fire the Wilkins brothers. Who are the Wilkins brothers? Martindale brought Drew Wilkins and his brother with him to the Giants from the Ravens, and Drew Wilkins was their outside linebacker coach, and their outside linebacker coach had produced very poorly this year. On the sideline, it was Drew Wilkins helping Martindale with the personnel groupings and directing traffic for him. Drew Wilkins is considered a strong position coach, helps Martindale devise the defensive schemes. Martindale, angered by this news, cursed out Daboll, said his piece, got up, slammed the door, and walked out of the building. He notified those close to him he planned to resign, the media. More than 24 hours later, the Giants still have not heard anything from Wink Martindale. So this is how it went down, is Brian Daboll did not want to quote unquote fire Wink Martindale. He wanted him to leave on his own initiative, right? So he doesn't get to go coach wherever he wants and collect his $3 million. And I applaud Brian Daboll for playing hardball on this, but he did fire the outside linebacker coach who had bad performances across the board in that room. Kayvon was the only one who did anything well, and that was all sacks. There was no consistency to his game. But that was known as Wink Martindale's right-hand man. But for Brian Daboll, from his point of view, well, I just fired Bobby Johnson, who, I'm very close friends with. I did it for the better of them in the team. Why aren't you willing to fire this guy, essentially? And here's why. Because it's not just about the outside linebacker performance. Why was Daboll adamant about getting rid of Drew Wilkins and, by association, Kevin Wilkins? There was a feeling in the building that Martindale and Drew Wilkins were creating their own fiefdom, I think I pronounced that correctly, within the coaching staff, at times bypassing Daboll and believing they had to answer only to each other and ultimately ownership. Daboll is all about collaboration, and this was not that. So if you're Brian Daboll, you have every right to be pissed off at Wink Martindale. Right? They have set up this thing where we don't answer to anybody. We only answer to the owners. We run our defense 100% how we want. You don't get any input. I don't care if you're the head coach. You're the offensive coach is basically the way that Wink Martindale felt. And hey, maybe Brian Daboll's hard to work with, but he is the head coach. So while you're in season, there has to be collaboration and not that. But it gets way worse. The Daboll-Martindale relationship grew more strained during and after the 49-17 loss in Dallas in Week 10. With rookie quarterback Tommy DeVito making his first NFL start, Daboll put in a conservative game plan across the board, surmising that it would take all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams, to succeed with a ball control mindset to have a realistic chance to stay close. The Giants were depleted in the defensive backfield. Cornerback Adoree Jackson did not play, and then Deonte Banks and Cordell Flott were forced out with injuries. Martindale disregarded the plan and stuck with his pressure packages. The results were unsightly, as CeeDee Lamb caught 11 passes for 152 yards. Brandon Cooks caught 9 passes for 173 yards. Gallup caught a 41-yard touchdown pass, and the Giants allowed a ghastly 640 yards, the second most allowed in franchise history, and the most amassed by the Giants in a game in their history. Going into halftime in Dallas with the Giants trailing 28-0, Daboll and Martindale engaged in what appeared to be a heated exchange. Afterward, Daboll said they were discussing coverages. A few weeks later, right? And so before we get into the a few weeks later, like, yeah, I would be pissed off if I was Brian Daboll too. Like, we put together a plan and Wink Martindale decided to go totally rogue against it, right? And I understand if Wink Martindale still wants to run some blitz and play, run his blitzes, play man coverage, but I track all that stuff. They went all. They basically ran cover 1 and cover 3, all their blitzes in that game, and then they would do a little bit of like quarters coverage, right? Which, the main time that Wink ran that was versus the Dolphins. So basically went against him. But even, hey, they got gashed, right? Which the results should speak for itself. But at the same time, I can understand Wink Martindale and be frustrated by like, hey, I'm the defensive coordinator. Let me call the defense the way that I want. Here is where I am all out on Wink Martindale's where it goes from here. The last part, a few weeks later, a Fox pregame report stated that Daboll Martindale relationship was in a bad place. Daboll publicly dismissed that report and presented Martindale with the game ball after a 10-7 victory over the Patriots. Right? So the Jay Glazer report comes out. We all saw it, right? That they were in a bad place. They're having issues. It may not even last to the season, right? And that was obviously leaked out by Wink Martindale. Brian Daboll had no reason to leak that out. That was obviously leaked out by Wink Martindale. But here's the thing that really pisses me off is that Brian Daboll tried to fix this and Wink Martindale didn't. He acted like a baby, took his ball and went home. Daboll privately confronted Martindale twice about the report and no explanation was given. That's so damn weak. That is so weak to me. Like, trying to address it, like, hey, let's fix this. Even if we don't, not working together at the end of the season, let's get through this season with us working together. And Wink has I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. And every time Wink Martindale got to talk to the reporters afterwards, basically confirmed that it happened without exact 100% saying that it was happening and there was issues. Daboll walked into a meeting in the defensive staff and referred to the report, announced if anyone had a problem with him, they should speak up. No one spoke up. That is so soft, right? Brian Daboll's the head coach trying to deal with issues head on. And hey, guess what? Brian Daboll may have some flaws in this, but at least he tried to deal with them. Where instead, Wink Martindale, again, got soft, said, no, you're not the defensive coach. I'm the defensive coach, and decided, I'm not listening to you. And him and Drew Wilkins decided, nope, we don't answer to you. I got a $3 million defensive coordinator contract. John Mara likes me. I answer to him. I answer to ownership. I don't answer to you. So basically, was just an insubordinate for the entire second half of the season. So I don't know how you can blame Brian Daboll at all in this. I'm sure Brian Daboll should look in and say, hey, I don't want my next defensive coordinator to be like this. But how can you look at this and not think Wink Martindale is absolutely in the wrong in this? To me, it's weak, it's soft, and I don't know why anybody else in the NFL would want to work with this guy. Unless you were best friends and you knew he wouldn't turn his back on you. Like, how could you trust this guy after all this stuff comes out? And then not only just, hey, they butted heads, they didn't listen to each other, they didn't try and work anything out, but then you just leave and don't answer phone calls. Like, it's going to be hard for this man to get jobs in the NFL after this. Like, I'm serious. Maybe he does want to just retire and collect that $3 million. I hope the Giants never give it to him. So we'll do some more podcasts on this. We had a podcast out earlier today, so go check it out on the channel if you want more conversation on all this. I give a pretty big rant. People like the rant. So like and subscribe to the channel. Truly do appreciate you guys. Share this with your friends. We'll see you when we see you. Until then, let's go Big Blue.